What's up, everybody? How's it going? Oh, you guys can't hear my freaking music. What is going on? I have my cute music and everything. Gosh dang it. Hi, friends. Oh, can you hear it yet? Can you hear it yet? Nope, you can't hear it yet. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Happy Sunday night, everybody. Happy Sunday evening. Oh my goodness. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, everybody. Let me see if I can, because I want to have chat, but also it's like in my face. There we go. Hi everyone. Oh, maybe I can move it out this way, just a skosh, so you guys are just officially over my walk-in closet situation over here. Oh my goodness. Yeah. How's everyone doing? My brain is like mush right now. I have been taking myself on a little journalism 101 crash course today because I really wanted to talk tonight about Taylor Lorenz's new video. And she, is a journalist, self-described. So I wanted to make sure that I'm brushed up on journalism, on the ethics of journalism, and I'm going to share that information with y'all. And as I said in chat before we started this, there will be a very small pop quiz. But get your notes app out, get a piece of paper, whatever it is, take a couple little notes, and we'll see if you guys get the questions right. Yeah, so that's the main topic tonight. Is I watched Taylor's new video about Ethan, about the copyright claim. Although if you watched it, you probably wouldn't know it was about Ethan, and we'll get into that. And I had a lot of thoughts, of course. So we will get into that. We are also going to talk at the top about Hasan and his recent reaction to ContraPoints, specifically about trans rights in America and some misinformation that he shared there. I'm sure you won't be surprised by that. Featuring a really great breakdown on everything that was accomplished under Biden in the name of trans rights. None of us think Biden was perfect, right? But the way that Hasan is representing things, shockingly, not very journalistic of him. So we'll talk about that. Oh, also, I wanted to give y'all this. This is a quiz. I'll put it in chat. It's from Pew Research. And it is, here, let's go. Put it right there. Oh, Jesus. It's not letting me do the full thing. Hang on one second. Pew. Yeah, it's from Pew Research, and it is a political typology quiz. So you can go and you can see what your, hang on, let me put this in the actual web. The web window so you can see it. You can find out what your leaning is, because I think right now, a lot of times, hang on one sec. A lot of times, it seems like because the left is so loud, like these leftists, not just the left, but specifically these like extreme leftists, are so loud that it can be hard to hear yourself and know what your, here we go, know who your actual leaders are, right? And like what you actually believe. So I share this as a way to say, check to see where you fall. It's very likely that you are very far left, just like me. And it doesn't matter if Hasan or any of the orbiters think that you are not leftist enough. because they are not in charge, right? So y'all can go and find out your typology. I can do it live if you think that that's interesting. Or we can, I'll just leave it to y'all. Logic Guy, I also liked Taylor Lorenz's guest. I thought she was fascinating. We'll talk about it. I really liked her. She was really, really smart. I mean, she has a JD. That was something I used to want to have. I used to want to get that. Oh, you want to do it live? Okay, so let's do it. Let's walk it through. Okay, does everyone have the link open? Okay. Are we ready? First question. And please, obviously, don't be influenced by whatever I say. I know I'm just like so cool, but make sure you listen to yourself. Perfect pronunciation of my name. Oh, I'm an old school internet girly. I could read that. All right, let's do it. Question 1. If you had to choose, would you rather have a smaller government providing fewer services or a bigger government providing more services? Definitely a bigger government. When you say you favor a bigger government providing more services, do you think it would be better to modestly expand on current government services or greatly expand? For me, it's greatly expand. It's greatly expand for sure. Which of the following statements come closest to your view? America's openness to people from all over the world is essential to who we are as a nation. If America is too open to people from all over the world, we risk losing our identity as a nation. Definitely the first one. The second one is like replacement theory, right? Too much overreach. That's fine. We all are going to have different opinions on this, right? And let's all share in the comments what we get. Okay, number 3. In general, would you say experts who study a subject for many years, this is very interesting because there happen to be some leftist journalists who have not studied journalism at all. So you'll probably guess what my answer is here. Usually better at making good policy decisions about that subject than other people. Usually worse or neither better nor worse. I believe if you've studied a subject for a long time, you are more likely to understand the intricacies of it. And so I think it's usually you're better. There is a risk of becoming too theoretical and like too into like the research or the history where you don't really understand like the practical side of it. But I think in general, more information is good. This is one of those questions I can't understand how people feel different. Yeah, I mean, what happens? Family. Okay. Number 4. Thinking about increased trade of goods and services between the U.S. and other nations in recent decades, would you say that the U.S. has, I don't know a ton about trade, but let's see, gained more than it has lost because increased trade has helped lower prices and increase the competitiveness of some U.S. businesses, lost more than it has gained because increased trade has cost jobs in manufacturing and other industries and lowered wages for some U.S. workers? I mean, for me, this is obviously number 2. Obviously, we've lost a lot of jobs overseas, right? And they've been able to exploit overseas workers while also lowering our wages. So based on these 2, the limited information we have here, if it's lowering wages for U.S. workers, I'm usually not a fan of that. Lower prices is not the most important thing to me, for sure. How much more, if anything, needs to be done to ensure equal rights for all Americans, regardless of their racial or ethnic backgrounds? I would say a lot. I think a lot has to be done. I think we're still very far from the goals of racial equity and liberation in general. We still don't even have reparations for the descendants of enslaved people, which to me, if in a dream world, I would want our federal government to have an office of reparations. I think that there could be a very official way to apply, to show. I don't know how much you would need to like prove, right? But essentially, if you're an African American and you live in the United States and you've your family's been here for generations, the likelihood that you are just a descendant of an enslaved person is pretty high, unfortunately. So I think that that office could deal with reparations, could also, help with like business development for Black Americans. Like it could do so many things on the to increase the economic power of Black people in this country. And I mean, Elizabeth Warren had a little bit of a plan for that, not for reparations specifically, but for like closing the racial equity gap, and just doing more to empower people and get them more capital instead of just ignoring it. So there's that. Which comes closer to your view about what needs to be done to ensure equal rights for all Americans, regardless of their racial or ethnic backgrounds? Even if neither is exactly right. Most U.S. laws and major institutions need to be completely rebuilt because they are fundamentally biased against some racial and ethnic groups. While there are many inequities in U.S. laws and institutions, necessary changes can be made by working within the current systems. I definitely think that we need to rebuild everything, for sure. I know that's difficult, and obviously I understand it's not something that happens overnight, right? But when we talk about the criminal justice system, when we talk about policing, the courts, all those criminal justice elements, when we talk about housing and districting and all of that, real estate, everything is impacted and sort of infected with systemic racism. So I'm going to say most things need to be rebuilt, for sure. I did the quiz. I didn't realize it was only about America. I was further left than I thought when I did this quiz. Well, look at that. Okay, which of the following statements comes closest to your view? Business corporations make too much profit. I already know that that's my answer. There's no way that corporations are making a fair and reasonable amount of profit. Billionaires should not exist. How much, if at all, would it bother you to regularly hear people speak a language other than English in public places? Not at all. I currently live in a very, very, very white and monolingual community, and I used to work in a multilingual community for almost a decade, and I miss it. I miss hearing different languages. I miss specifically hearing French, which is what I speak, but just all the different languages. It's just a beautiful thing. So that's why I love going to like bigger cities and just listening. So definitely not at all. I think that makes us cool and strong to have all these different languages, Oh, Jesus. On a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 means you feel cold and negative, and 100 means you feel warm and positive, how do you feel toward Democrats? What's really funny? I feel like Hasan would give a 0 to this, and so would like Trumpers. I'm going to give them a 70 because there are a lot of younger progressive Democrats that I think are doing good things, but the Democrats at the top need like a full purge. So I think we can get there. I have hope still. Republicans get a 0. Fuck them. Okay, which of these statements best describes your opinion about the United States? The U.S. stands above all other countries in the world. Obviously, no. The U.S. is one of the greatest countries in the world, along with some others. There are other countries that are better than the U.S. Yeah, I don't think that there needs to be the greatest country in the world, right? And I really wish that our politicians, specifically at the federal level, would show some humility and stop trying to reinvent the wheel when things have already been mastered to some degree in other countries that we could implement here, right? I think specifically about like in Finland, and the school system there is just incredible, and what we could learn from that system, and what we could learn from other countries about what they do well, like why, if we're supposed to be this like melting pot, right? Well, I know Republicans don't want that. I think we should also be more open to learning from other countries instead of just being like, we're the fucking best and shoving our BS down your throat. How much of a problem would you say each of the following are in the country today? People being too easily offended by things others say. Not a problem. I think that's fucking stupid. It's not a thing that's happening. That is like one of the fake Republican talking points. People saying things that are very offensive to others. I would say it's a minor problem. I mean, maybe because I think it's mostly happening in online spaces. And they have sort of become pretty segregated, right? Like most of the Nazi stuff is happening on Twitter, on Twitter. So if you don't want to see it, you don't have to go there, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't think that saying offensive things, and that's kind of a really broad statement. I think it is a problem. ContraPoints, Ethan, no disagreement is allowed. Do you have a degree in psychology? No, I don't, but I'm very, very interested in like behavioral psychology. That's very internet related. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a bit of an overblown problem, but I might be wrong. But this is how I feel. Which comes closer to your view of candidates for political office? There is at least one candidate who shares most of my views. None of the candidates represent my views well. And you see here, again, it's like Hasan and also like psycho Republicans, right? There's at least one, right? We've got AOC. We have Zoran now. We have Elizabeth Warren, who's like my heart. There's there's a Palestinian congresswoman in Georgia. Rua? Is her name Rua? I think. Rua Rahman. She's amazing. So yeah, there are promising people coming up that I agree with. And Bernie, of course, like there are people, establishment Democrats who I also agree with. So yeah. In general, how much do white people benefit from advantages in society that black people do not have? A great deal. End of statement. Do you think greater social acceptance of people who are transgender is very good for society? For sure. Overall, would you say people who are convicted of crimes in this country serve too much time in prison, too little, about the right amount? I mean, people of color serve way more than white people. And they also tend to be the majority of prisoners because of our system. So I will say too much time in prison. For sure. But not rapists, right? Rapists get like 2 years. Which of the following statements comes closest to your view? Religion should be kept separate from government policies. Government policy should support religious values and beliefs. Religion should absolutely be kept separate. And if this is going to be true, it needs to be all religions. And this is why I love the Satanists, right? What are they called? Like Satan, the Satanic Temple. They are always showing up when Christians are trying to like put the 10 Commandments on a piece of municipal property. They're like, okay, if you're going to do that, then we get to put this statue of Satan next to it, right? Because it's our religion and it's about respecting religion. Professional trolls. Yeah, it's great. Okay, last one. In the future, do you think U.S. policies should try to keep it so America is the only military superpower? It would be acceptable if another country became as militarily powerful as the U.S. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Let's see where I fall. Progressive left. I'm here. See where I am? I believe that is where most of the Hasan and his orbiters would put themselves, right? So why does he get to decide who's leftist and who's not, right? He doesn't. So I just wanted to share that. And I don't know why my thing is not working. Where's the plug for this? Oh, maybe it's not plugged in. Is it not plugged in? Oh, it is. Let me try it. Hang on one second, guys. My Stream Deck is acting a fool right now. make sure that I have that ready to go for our thing. Oh, just doxed myself. That's fine. Yeah, email me anytime. You skipped the question, do you watch the H3 podcast? So true. And there was also no question about Zionism. So I guess maybe I'm not. Maybe I really am just a centrist shill. But yeah, you guys can hit me up and email anytime if you want. Okay, so that is the quiz. What did y'all end up with? Let me see. I used to be progressive left until this Hasan and Ethan thing. Oh, interesting. Oh, the link to the test, June, is if you scroll up, you should be able to see it. It's saying I'm outside or left. That's absurd. I'm obviously a rumblefish leftist. I don't know what that means. I am a filthy leftist. Left here. All right, so is this working now? Are you working? Yay! Okay, great. Progressive left, but I would consider myself progressive and not all the way left. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a spectrum even within that little 6%, right? Progressive lefty. I am a cult survivor, so for me, seeing both sides in propaganda is very important. Well, you're gonna like tonight then. You're gonna like tonight's show for sure. Establishment lib. Oh no. We need to make you walk the plank or something. Credit card info when? I'm sure it's coming. I know, I got to flash my credit card and my home phone number next. Okay. So, next up. That was fun. I'm glad we did it together. All right, I just want to, let's do the Hasan thing, and then we'll get into, like, why I want to talk about the Taylor stuff and all of that. So, apparently on stream recently, Hasan Piker said the T slur accidentally while he was reading chats, I guess. And I believe it was in the context of his ContraPoints response. Because of course he disagrees with her, even though I think her statement was very rational. But they are, Hasan and his cronies are painting it as her being selfish to some degree. I don't fully understand where they're coming from, but that's nothing new. So that happened, and to my knowledge, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't watch any of his content. I haven't seen him apologize for doing that. But maybe he did. Maybe he did in the moment. Maybe he did after. I did see his fans trying to make it sound like he didn't know it was a slur because English isn't his first language, which I think was really silly. Doesn't make any sense. Like, why can't he just, like, why do we need to do that? It's so stupid. He clearly is very good at English. He was mostly educated here, right? Like, this is what I mean when it really feels like a cult of personality when he can't ever be seen as having made a mistake, right? It's just so silly. It's so silly. Yeah, someone was like, there is an ESL aspect here or something on Twitter. But then this happened. While he was reading ContraPoints' statement, he decided that he could speak on how trans people feel about Biden versus Trump, which I thought was really interesting. Here is what Hasan had to say. And you'll notice his very condescending tone as he's reading ContraPoints' words.
Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly enlightened being will feel no bitterness about this, but I do. It's just so, I mean, this is so incredibly fucking self-centered.
First of all, imagine reading literally anyone from a marginalized group reading their take about something where they say that, you know, they are under attack, that there is a valid threat to their safety, you know, and the first thing you say is that they're self-centered. for saying that, for contextualizing the situation for themselves. Like, it's completely illogical and irrational to expect people to talk about Israel Palestine and leave out the personal element of it. It doesn't make sense. Because for most of us, there was a nuanced situation happening with the recent election where we knew that Trump was going to be worse for queer people. I'm a lesbian as I'm speaking on this. Queer people, trans people, people of color, specifically immigrants from Central and South America. We knew, because he told us over and over again, we knew that was going to happen. And we also could pretty much know that things were going to get worse for people in Gaza, right? So for us, our personal experience with the hatred coming from Trump, right, which we got to experience for 4 years already, that is important, and it influences our opinion. It influences the way we vote. It influences the way we see the world. It's not just, as Hasan likes to call it, identity politics that don't matter, right? Or are selfish. It's literally life or death for some. We've just seen like the first immigrant to die in custody, in ICE custody, right? Like this is literally life or death for people. So to say that her talking about her experience and why she feels this way in her statement about why she feels the way she does about Israel and Palestine, calling that selfish, calling a trans woman selfish for doing that, to me is certainly a choice for a cis straight white male. I would never in my wildest dreams acknowledge a trans person's fears by calling them selfish. I just think that that's crazy. Like that's wild to me. And So that's what he had to say. That it's selfish. And here's the rest of it. This is where it gets really even more wild.
It's crazy. And not because I'm like centering this around what she's saying, which is trans issues and how much worse they're getting under Donald Trump as opposed to Joe Biden, even though.
First of all, that is exactly what you're doing. Like, you're having this reaction after she said that, right? I'm starting to realize that Hasan and the journalists that we talk about here, they kind of count on their followers not doing any of their own research, investigation, or even like reading things closely that they post. They kind of count on just you taking what they say at face value and not looking further into it. Because he literally just negated what he just like gaslighted about what he said. He called her selfish for being rightfully scared of the Trump administration's policies on trans people. And now he's saying, it's not that I'm doing that, right? It's not that it's specifically about her being trans. That's because you can remove it from the situation. Because it's not important to you and it doesn't seem critical to you because you're not trans and you are an empathy vacuum, apparently. Okay, so here's the really rich part.
Which is trans issues and how much worse they're getting under Donald Trump as opposed to Joe Biden, even though I think plenty of trans people would disagree with that as well, saying.
Another thing I wouldn't do in my wildest dreams is speak on behalf of anyone whose experience I didn't understand firsthand. To say, I think that a lot of trans people would disagree here. You aren't trans. Maybe you should have had some of these trans people on your show to talk about it if you were going to do this. But to sit there and be so assured that people would agree with you that come from a different experience, it is pretty wild. Yeah, he did say this. He really said this.
That a lot of these anti-trans initiatives kickstarted under Joe Biden, and Trump has just simply accelerated it.
What? What the fuck are you even talking about? Like, I think at this point he knows that he's just full of shit, and he is counting on his followers to not look into any of this. That he can just say, well, it's really the Democrats' problem. It's always the Democrats. And they'll all just be like, yes, yup, King, you got it. You're so right. Okay? So let's just finish this out.
Reaching its logical conclusion. But
okay, so the Democrats, Joe Biden, always wanted it to get this accelerated. He always wanted hatred for the trans community to get to this degree. So honestly, Donald Trump is doing him a favor by accelerating the discrimination against trans people and making them feel more unsafe, getting their passports rejected, and treating them like second, third class citizens. What are you fucking talking about? So the good news is, shout out to the H3 subreddit. Someone went and did a bunch of work breaking down exactly all the ways that Biden fought to improve trans rights and trans safety during his time. So we have an executive order preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity and sexual orientation was the fourth executive order he signed. So that was probably in the first 2 days, right? Like, executive orders happen really fast. But I don't know. Oh, wait. Oh, no. So he signed it January 20th, 2021. Yeah, the literal same day. The same day he was inaugurated, he signed an executive order doing what he could to protect trans people from discrimination. Of course, it was rescinded by Donald Trump within hours of his assuming office on January 20th, 2025. But according to Hasan, that's exactly what Biden wanted. This is the logical conclusion. Somehow they're working together, and this is honestly something that Biden wanted. 2024, the Biden administration announced expansive new protections for gay and trans medical patients, prohibiting federally funded health providers and insurers from discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. The rule reversed a policy from the previous Trump administration and helped to fulfill Biden's vow to restore civil rights protections for the LGBTQ people that were eliminated by Trump. Because you see, we already had 4 years of being treated like shit by Trump. So Biden came in and had to undo things. And what I love about this is that this person put in their sources, unlike Hasan. In 2021, Biden established the White House Gender Policy Council, aimed to implement a government-wide strategy to advance gender equity and equality with specific LGBTQ inclusive mandate. Yeah, this is the stuff that Trump was so excited about, couldn't wait to take it to its logical conclusion, right? Compare this to Trump in his first day back in office, claimed that there are only two genders. This is not only scientifically inaccurate, it is incompatible with history. The two could not have more different approaches to protecting trans Americans and trying to, in ways that they could, keep trans people more safe, treat them with more respect and humanity. Biden, in his second year, issued the first ever presidential proclamation recognizing a transgender day of visibility. And then number 5, guaranteeing an educational environment free from discrimination on the basis of sex, including sexual orientation or gender identity. Another executive order. This is huge as it protected kids from being discriminated against in school based on their gender identity and sexual orientation, which we know has been happening in conservative states, right? And then housing and urban development. So not just, platitudes about caring for transgender people and honoring their history, right? Which I think, Hasan fans will be like, oh, it's not enough. That's just paying lip service, right? This is literally about economic security and safety. HUD issues memorandum, that's housing and urban development, interpreting that the Bostock decision applies to the Fair Housing Act. Okay. The Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity at the U.S. Department of Housing issued a memorandum stating that HUD interprets the Fair Housing Act to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, and directing HUD offices and recipients of HUD funding to enforce the FHA accordingly. Because, of course, just like people of color are discriminated against in housing and need to be protected federally, the same thing happens to trans people. On what planet? Now, on what planet are these people the same? Now let's go back and just listen to Hasan again.
This is so incredibly fucking self-centered. It's crazy. And not because I'm like centering this around what she's saying, which is trans issues and how much worse they're getting under Donald Trump as opposed to Joe Biden, even though I think plenty of trans people would disagree with that as well, saying that a lot of these anti-trans initiatives kickstarted under Joe Biden, and Trump is just
like what, Hasan? Like what ones? What anti-trans initiatives were kickstarted under Biden that he supported? Which ones?
simply accelerated it, reaching its logical conclusion, but not.
Yeah. Yeah, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. And that's why people shouldn't trust you for news. You can be a commentary channel, an opinion channel, but when you say you're doing journalism and that's the journalism you're doing, oh, thank you. Thank you, Witch. Eel Pit fun. Don't know, so Kate has to do the Eel Pit segment at the end of the stream. I mean, maybe if we get to 5, we'll do Eel Pit. Logical conclusion equals some BS I made up. Oh my God. Okay, hang on. Let me see. Oh, that's why. Is that why? Is that why? Okay, let me make sure. Okay. So yeah, when Hasan says he's doing journalism and this is what he's talking about, I genuinely do not understand the confirmation bias is just like on a different level. I don't understand how you can sit there and watch this drivel and not check it for yourself. Which trans people besides Blair White think things are better under Trump right now? I don't know, because I'm not going to speak for trans people. It's really that easy, which is all that Hasan needed to say was, I don't know if all trans people would agree with this, right? That is all he needed to say. And yet he decided to assert that trans people think that Biden is the real devil and Trump is just following his lead by, welcome Alex. Thank you. Yeah. So Trump is just following Biden's lead by, banning trans people from having their gender on their passports. discriminating against them in all kinds of ways, allowing for discrimination, kicking them out of the military. All of this is just the logical conclusion of, Biden signing executive orders protecting trans people and sending memos to make sure HUD isn't discriminating against trans people. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Didn't he ban trans people from joining the military? Trump got them all kicked out. Thank you, Devin. Oh, I'm supposed to do sound effects for when you guys give me these things. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Ethan. Here's one. Here's another one. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Ethan. I used to watch Hasan. He's never said anything positive that Biden ever did. And that's the thing. Like, how can you watch that with any sense of like reading comprehension or literacy, like in general, not just media literacy, and not be like, he's never done anything right? Like, how do you trust someone that's that extreme and so willfully ignorant? And not even just willfully ignorant, like just willfully lying, like willfully dishonest. I don't understand how that is considered, he's considered to be like the moral police out here. Speaking of that. So shout out to that Redditor for that full post. Go and give it a like. Let me like it. This was Credit Signal. So shout out Credit Signal for a wonderful, well-sourced piece of information on Reddit. So this is Hasan lying about things is actually like a really good segue into the main topic tonight. Because this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll give a little context before we dive into it of why I'm talking about this. Because I have been making a lot of videos about these leftist journalists, right? Why am I doing that? Why am I attacking pro-Palestinian journalists, right? It's because I'm a writer myself, first and foremost. I got my master's degree in writing and creative writing in 2011, 2012. So for over a decade, I've been writing, and I write professionally, not creatively. So I've experienced in a lot of different kinds of writing. I've also taught writing from elementary school up through college in a couple different places. So I know about writing. I know about writing and citing your sources and all that. I also, in addition to that, in undergrad, took a lot of political science courses. And because I wanted to be in Congress, actually. I wanted to either be in Congress or go for the Supreme Court, be a judge, but we know that doesn't happen. All of that's just politics. And then at some point in my undergrad, I just fell more in love with French language and linguistics. And so I started going after that. And that's what I ended up getting my bachelor's in. But then I got my master's in writing. So here we are. That's my background. And I don't like when words and story are abused in any language. I don't like the way that that's being done on the left. And I want to be able to constructively criticize these people. I think it's very important to do that because they are positioning themselves as truth tellers. They are positioning themselves as people who can be trusted more than mainstream media to report on things. And I like to do it constructively instead of doing what they do, which is just hijacking the conversation, using those lovely thought-terminating cliches that just shut down conversation, and engaging in personal attacks. That's not anything that I'm interested in. And I have the skills to critique their arguments because I am a writer. I've been a teacher. I have had to grade papers. And that's why I'm here. Why am I not criticizing right-wing or mainstream news? Because I don't expect a lot from them. I already don't trust them. I want to be able to trust left-leaning or just fully leftist news. I care about the news sources we have on the left because I think that we are in the right. I don't think we need to lie to be correct and to tell the compelling story that we have, right? I would like to be able to read leftist news and not have to wonder if it's propaganda, if it's lies. But I don't have that trust right now. I don't trust that the people who are positioning themselves as the voice of leftist journalism are doing things in good faith. I really want to, but these independent journalists keep showing that they aren't trustworthy. And that they go into things without journalistic curiosity or integrity. And they shoehorn their opinions into things, as we'll see in Taylor's video. And I'm sick of it. And so I want to talk about it. And to be clear, Ethan Klein is not the source of my news. Never has been, never will be. I don't want him to be. I love him as a content creator. I think he's hilarious. I love the podcast. It's like one of the favorite things I do every week is watch the show, right? I love the community. I love the crew. But he is not my source of news. And he doesn't pretend to be, right? This is not about him. Because separate from being an H3 fan, I am also a leftist with a high degree of media literacy, and I expect a lot from writers, from other writers. And because I'm deeply familiar with the way Ethan has been misrepresented by these other writers in both traditional and new media now, it's made me wonder about the ethics of leftist journalism more than I already was. Like before all this happened, I already didn't trust Hasan as a news source, right? Like that was not, anyone who does, it's just confirmation bias, right? But I respected Taylor Lorenz. I respected Kat Tenbarge for the journalism that they had done. And then this happened and I was like, this can't be right. Like, what are they talking about? And so that's what's really catapulted me into looking more closely about the kind of things they're writing right now. And sadly, I keep being disappointed. So before we start our review of some timestamps from Taylor's video, it is time for class to begin. So please get out your pens, your notes apps, whatever you want to do, because we are going to do a little Ethics in Journalism 101. I'm going to just make this a little smaller so it's not totally covering my stuff. Okay. I'll give you a second because there will be a teeny tiny pop quiz, okay? And this isn't long. Can someone lend me a pencil? You were supposed... Oh, Boss Moss, thank you. Did he? Okay, let me see. Ugh, my stupid Stream Deck isn't working. Hang on one sec, y'all. Let's look into that because I don't know about it. Oh, there I am again. Send me an email sometime. I hate Stream Deck for doing that. It's so stupid. Okay, Biden. Trans healthcare. Okay. So this is what the HRC has to say. And yeah, this doesn't look good. President Biden signs defense bill blocking healthcare for trans military children. First anti-LGBTQ federal law enacted since Defense of Marriage Act. Okay. Military families lay everything on the line. The April. Oh, this is the statement. I want to read what it actually says. Here we go. Last night, President signed the FY25 National Defense Authorization Act, which includes a provision inserted by Speaker Mike Johnson, of course, that shit brick, blocking health care for the transgender children of military service members. The provision rip medically necessary care from the transgender children of thousands of military families. Yeah, this is terrible. Oh, Trump took it down. Cool. I want to know what the rest of the bill said, because they always do these stupid fucking like backdoor compromises to get things passed. But I guarantee there is no, I mean, I am so anti-war and military that I'm sure there was nothing that would have justified this. Let's see if there's a little more detail somewhere. President leveraged full force of the federal government to advance rights of... Shut up. I just noped out of Hasan's video about ContraPoints. Yeah, it's just so stupid. Leverage full force to advance rights and opportunities for women and girls. Biden clarifies stance on surgeries. Healthcare. It was the NDAA, right? Veto defense bill attacking military. President Biden must veto defense bill, but then it says he signed it, right? Yeah, he signed it. Signs defense bill despite transgender care restrictions. Now, okay, first of all, do you see what I'm doing? Do you see that I received a message from someone? Shout out to Boss Moss. And instead of just saying, "You're fucking stupid," or finding a way to twist that, I have stopped the stream and I'm trying to learn more. And I'm also open to agreeing with this person that was really terrible. Lawmakers removed some of the most controversial provisions during negotiations on a final bill. Okay, so it was like the giant Pentagon bill at the end of the year. Passed with bipartisan support. That is obviously very disappointing. The final deal drops some of the most contentious culture war battles, such as measures related to abortions and Pentagon efforts to promote diversity and inclusion in the ranks. But we kept in the stuff limiting healthcare. Okay, here we go. A provision included at the insistence of Speaker Mike Johnson bans the military's TRICARE health system from covering gender dysphoria treatments that could result in sterilization for minors under 18. Some Democrats attacked the language as bigoted. Oh, thank you. Yay. Thank you, Tatiana. What are we meal prepping? Oh, ContraPoints is the best. This is a ContraPoints Stan account. Some Democrats attack language. All right, Biden excoriated the provision in a statement outlining his objections to the bill. The measure singles out transgender people and hinders parents from determining the best medical care for their kids. Yeah, and let's talk about the fact that this is like typical Republican virtue signaling, because that probably does not impact a ton of military children just because the number of actual trans people is so small. So this provision is about cruelty and just being cruel to such a small number of people for no fucking reason. Like, this covering gender dysphoria treatments for children might be puberty blockers, right? But it might just be therapy. So making like a handful of kids, a handful of parents pay out of pocket for therapy for their extremely like vulnerable child is terrible. This section undermines our all-volunteer military's ability to recruit and retain the finest fighting force the world has ever known by denying health care to coverage to thousands of our service members' children. No service member should have to decide between their family's health care. Okay, but why did you sign it? The transgender health care bill displeased many House Democrats, most of whom voted against the final bill. Okay, so did they not have the votes? But then why did he sign it? Well, because it was like the massive Pentagon bill. And then maybe the Republicans wouldn't back down. And then it's not the first time the White House has approved major defense legislation despite deep reservations. Biden, for instance, signed the NDAA in 2022 with the provision that repealed his own administration's mandate that military personnel receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, so it's really shitty and terrible that they left that in. And the Pentagon gets way too much fucking money. Way too much money. Yeah, it's not great. And this is what happens in politics and in Congress is really terrible things get shoved in, and you have to weigh the cost benefit, you know? And if they weren't going to be able to pass this huge bill, you know, that threatens the paychecks of millions of service members, right? And I'm not saying that this is correct. I'm saying that Biden, I guess, should have vetoed, but then all of these military members would have had no salary. And that impacts every military child, right? But I don't think that this was a good idea. I think it was a terrible provision that they never should have agreed to. It seems like most Democrats didn't agree with it, right? And voted against it. So that's what I can glean from this in the small amount of time I have. As you can see, it is more complicated than just he signed this bill. It's not something he wanted. It's not something he supported. It's not something most Democrats supported. But these are the hard decisions that happen when you are in a deeply divided country. And this is a huge reason why I stopped wanting to be in politics. Because of how much you have to compromise yourself. Thank you everybody for liking the video. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's go back to journalism 101. Dun 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 dun. Where is it? Here we go. Are you going to work? Are you going to work? Hey, you're working. Okay, so hello class and welcome to Ethics of Journalism 101, what I was able to learn in a day of research on the internet. So I am not claiming to be an expert in journalism, but I think I was able to find some important stuff. And like I said, please get your notes app, a piece of paper ready to go. There will be a small quiz where we are going to evaluate some recent journalists' behavior and see if we think it is how it fails in journalistic ethics, okay? And then we're going to watch Taylor Lorenz's video with all of this context in mind. Okay, where is my other screen? Here we go. Thanks for bearing with me, class. Okay, So what we're going to talk about in this little in our class today, the general code of ethics for journalists, as outlined by the Society of Professional Journalists, and then the social media ethics for journalists. This is something that is a moving target as things get better, as the internet grows in popularity. And so it's something that journalists have to grapple with, for sure. Hang on, I think I know where I'm going to put y'all. I'm going to put y'all up here. There we go. Okay, great. Next slide. Next slide. Let's start with the definition of ethics. Actually, let me just hide the chat for right now, because this is all very important. It's honestly hard to define. I mean, there are a lot of different definitions. This is the one that seemed to me to be the most broad. It is a set of moral principles, a theory or system of moral values. And this is the Merriam-Webster version of this definition. Just to keep that in mind. And here is what we know about the nature of ethics. That it is not something that... Can this go over here? Yeah, perfect. It's not something that you agree to once and then your life is golden and your ethics are set. It is like a living, breathing thing. And so this is a couple quotes from a peer-reviewed article called "What is Ethics?" in the journal Issues in Ethics. It looks like it was their very first issue, Volume 1, Number 1. And it says, being ethical is clearly not a matter of following one's feelings. In fact, feelings frequently deviate from what is ethical, right? So we can't let our emotions and our feelings interfere with what is actually ethical. And a lot of times the two are at odds with each other. Ethics also means then the continuous effort of studying our own moral beliefs and our moral conduct and striving to ensure that we and the institutions we help to shape, journalism, the internet, online commentary, ensuring that these institutions live up to the standards that are reasonable and solidly based. So for this evening, our focus will be professional ethics specifically, and that is standards set by a group meeting the definition of a profession, so in this case, the profession of journalism, that apply to how they will practice. Shout out to Michael Davis, PhD, expert in professional ethics, and yes, I now see the typo. So let's talk about journalism and ethics and why ethics matter in journalism today. Why ethics matters. It's singular even though it's spelled plural. First of all, there is a huge decrease in journalists. Between 2022 and 2024, over 8,000 journalists were laid off. Like there has been a massive purge of journalists for any number of reasons, but mostly capitalism, right? Expecting fewer writers to do more with less. So the remaining reporters, the people who consider themselves reporters, have a heavier burden of upkeeping ethics, in my opinion. We also have corporate interference with legacy media. We have, Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post and interfering there. We have all these big conglomerates who are buying up legacy media and inserting their own influence into it, which makes it harder to trust. And trust is a big word we will use tonight. And then there's also, in general, the growing landscape of misinformation, especially online. So that, to me, is like the number one, is that most of these journalists are doing most of their work online. And I think a huge piece of that work should be battling and not contributing to misinformation and disinformation. Right? Okay, chat, let's lock in. I love you guys. Okay. So that's why, and to me, why ethics matter in journalism. And let's talk a little bit about the Society of Professional Journalists. This is who I used as my primary source for ethics in journalism. So they were founded in 1909, and they're a U.S. organization, and they purport to be the nation's most broad-based journalism organization dedicated to encouraging the free practice of journalism and stimulating high standards of ethical behavior. It is literally one of the main things that they focus on, is ethical journalistic behavior. Okay, so according to, let me just make sure I didn't miss any notes here. Okay, so according to the SPJ, Society of Professional Journalists, these are the 4 principles of ethical journalism. Each of them have a ton of sub bullets, like bullets underneath each of these. And I have linked in my description the full code of ethics for journalists, which you can go and check out. So these are the 4 main topics, the main pillars of ethical journalism. Number 1, seek truth and report it. Number 2, minimize harm. Number 3, act independently. And number 4, be accountable and transparent. And if you are like me, when you read these, you already saw some problems with the way leftist journalists are conducting themselves online today. And I'll break down some of it. We'll get a couple little bullet points from each of these topics that I found most relevant to the conversation tonight. But like I said, I encourage you to read the whole thing so you can watch for breaches in journalistic ethics on your own, because that's important. Okay, number 1, seek truth and report it. This is probably the biggest one, right? Because in my opinion, a lot of these journalists are not being fully honest. And truth is how you get people to trust you. And if you are representing things as the truth and they're not, then you're violating their trust. Okay, so number 1, verify information before releasing it. And they have the source, the SPJ Code of Ethics, is great because every button or every bullet you click on, it then gives you a full explanation of why that's important and quotes different journalism experts on how they came to this being like a main pillar of ethics in journalism. So in this pop-up, it said that to verify, or verification is so important, and that journalism itself is actually a discipline of verification. And I guess that was written in Elements of Journalism, which I believe is another peer-reviewed journal. Number 2, we have neither speed nor format excuses inaccuracy. Right? And, one of the motto of the United Press International, which has been around for, again, over 100 years, their motto is, get it first, but first get it right. Right? Don't rush to print without all of the information. And I highlighted not format here because, I think that there are liberties being taken with online journalism in both professional and public and professional and private spaces that are not in line with the ethics of journalism. You're also supposed to take special care not to misrepresent or oversimplify in promoting, previewing, or summarizing a story. So, you shouldn't just be summarizing things through your own biased lens for your audience, assuming that they won't go do the research for themselves. I wonder who does that. You're also supposed to avoid bias. Yes, even in online journalism, you're supposed to avoid bias. And continually examine the ways your own values and experiences and political opinions may shape your reporting. And last but not least, never deliberately distort facts or context. I feel like that is like the cardinal sin of online leftists right now. Yeah, I'm not going to read all that. Free Palestine. Like, okay, cool. Then you're not an ethical journalist. Okay, next up, minimize harm. This one was more about the sensitivity of interviewing victims of crimes and things like that. But there were a couple that that relate to online journalism right now. Number one, we have weigh the consequences of publishing or broadcasting personal information. Just this week, we had Taylor, where is it? Taylor looking up like the LinkedIn of this person who criticized her. And I'm not saying that what the woman said was appropriate or not ableist, because Taylor apparently has long COVID, and this woman said that someone should just cough on her and get it over with, or put us all out of our misery or something like that. So then Taylor went and looked up this person's LinkedIn account. So maybe it's not like officially doxing, but it's a very weird thing for a public person with tens of thousands of followers to do to a private citizen, right? I think that's weird. I think that's a weird thing to do. Okay, avoid pandering to lurid curiosity, even if others do. So I feel like that applies to getting mixed up in online drama and feeding into that. And then make sure you consider the long-term implications of the extended reach and permanence of publication. So make sure that if you're putting things out there, that they are things that you want to be read for the rest of time. Because, as they say, the internet is forever. All right, next up. So number 3 is act independently, avoid conflicts of interest, real or perceived. Perceived. So it doesn't even have to be a real conflict of interest. But if it seems like you are favoring certain people, if you are painting things in a certain light, a certain angle because of a conflict of interest for you, you are supposed to avoid that actively. You're also supposed to deny favored treatment to advertisers, donors, or any other special interests, and resist internal and external pressure to influence coverage. And lastly, make sure that you identify content provided by outside sources, whether paid or not. And I think in my opinion, it should go a step further, not just identify content as stuff that you have not created, but identify the source of that content and potentially the ways that they might not be 100% truthful or honest people. Thinking of Bad Empanada in this situation. Be accountable and transparent. This is another one. This is the last one. Encourage a civil dialogue with the public about journalistic practices, coverage, and news content. I do not think that any of these leftist journalists are encouraging a civil dialogue right now. I think that they are taking criticism extremely personally and behaving very, very unethically in response. Number 2, acknowledge mistakes and correct them promptly and prominently. This is another thing they're all terrible at doing. I have never seen Hasan apologize about anything. And just recently we had Taylor. Oh, that's the inaccurate one. I got to show that one. Oh, where is it? Oh, here it is. This one. Here she is criticizing the host of Chicken Shop Date for being nominated for excellence in journalism by Las Culturistas. They're a silly comedy podcast. But she didn't read. She didn't read far enough, except that she was pissed that this person was listed and maybe she wasn't for excellence in journalism. I don't know. But why else are you so mad? Why are you so mad about this? I love her and I'm extremely anti-gatekeeping when it comes to journalism, but here I come to gatekeep. This is straight up not journalism. Okay, that's literally you gatekeeping, especially as someone who got into journalism not the traditional way. I think the fact that it's framed that way, framing matters, is part of why we're witnessing the decline of actual journalism. Well, funny you should say that, because according to the SPJ Code of Ethics, which is, here's the full one here, you are actually contributing to it as well. Specifically in your inability to acknowledge mistakes and correct them. Because I guess when she did post a response to herself saying this, and you'll see just what a non-apology it is. And I mean, this is such a small thing, right? But I just thought it was funny. Just shows that, like, they can't even admit that they were stupid or silly for a second. Where is it? Let me see. It was like, big update. I did a bad tweet. Anyway, I can't find it. It's too deep now. She tweets too much. She tweets too much. But I mean, if we want to talk about not necessarily trafficking in the truth, right? As part of the ethics of seek truth and report it. I mean, we have you sharing someone saying that Ethan is questioning if Ethan is a pedophile, and we have you saying, like I said. So this is you co-signing that question as a journalist in a public forum. Take special care not to misrepresent or oversimplify. Avoid bias. Never deliberately distort facts or context. Lurid curiosity. Okay. Oh, my Lord. So yeah, and the last one is to expose unethical conduct in journalism, including within their own organizations. For Taylor, I would say her own organization would be Leftist in journalism. And honestly, right now, I think I'm doing more of that than she is. Oh my gosh. So those are the 4 pillars. Like I said, there are tons more little bits for each one. You can see, like, seek truth and report it. There's so many that you can go into, and every single one pulls up this awesome description, quotes from journalists about why this matters, sources, all kinds of stuff. If you like information, if you like digging in, the SPJ is where it's at, for sure. Okay, so love that. Are we falling asleep in class? Are we good? Roblox journo accuses others of pedophilia. Yeah. I wish people could be normal again. Yeah, me too. All right. Well, we're not there, so we're going to just have to hold these unnormal people accountable. All right, so let's just touch a little bit on the ethics of social media as a journalist, which I said at the beginning is like, it's a moving target because the lines are blurred between professionalism and personal lives, especially for independent journalists who aren't tied to an organization, right? Like a lot of the stuff I found was talking about the journalist's professional face and, how they represent the publication they work for. But in my opinion, you can't take off your journalist hat when you're sitting on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, where you're actually supposed to be doing your journalistic work. Like, I think that if you're a journalist and you present yourself as a journalist, people are going to read your stuff thinking you are telling the truth, thinking that you are someone they can trust, right? Which I assume is how you want to be treated, right? But it seems like you're exploiting that. And you're hoping they trust you without looking into it. So this is from Editor and Publisher magazine. And it says, it was an article, Ethics in the Era of Social Media. There's a delicate balance. Oh, God, things are skipping around. There's a delicate balance between encouraging reporters to engage on social media to extend journalism's reach and avoiding pitfalls that undermine reporting. And to me, those pitfalls are, the ethical quandaries that we just talked about, right? Like all the risks of not reporting the whole truth. One thing I will say that's to me seemed missing from the ethics, and it might just be because it's not about ethics, it's more about the spirit of journalism, is curiosity. Like, if you aren't going into situations with curiosity first instead of bias, I feel like that is a huge problem. Shout out Swoop. She's definitely doing journalism. And Kate OD, is that your name? K Boo. Oh my God. I need to get my eyes checked. Is she a journalist or an influencer? What's the difference? It's a blurred line right now, right? But yeah, I think that maybe one of the biggest journalistic crimes of these leftist independent journalists is their lack of curiosity. They have decided that they know what is right. They know the correct stance. They know all the information they need. They only get their information from like a narrow list of approved sources. And then they try to cram their narrative into the story. Is Adam McIntyre a journalist? I don't think so. I think if you aren't following the majority of the ethics of the Society of Professional Journalists, for me, I'm not trusting what you have to say. I'm not considering you a journalist. But it has become messy. So yeah, that to me is the lack of curiosity, the lack of wanting to get to the bottom of a story from every angle is to me the biggest sin of all. And we'll see it in Taylor's video because she could have done a really fantastic video. She had such an intelligent guest. But instead, she spends most of the time trying to get the guest to give her sound bites that make Ethan look bad. And failed at it. So, let's look at... Oops, nope, wrong way. Oh no, why didn't any of my pictures show up? That's weird. Why didn't my pictures show up? That's weird. Well... we had Taylor, we had Hasan, And we had Kat Tenbarge, and that's the one who I'm probably most disappointed in because she's actually got a journalism degree and she's been honored by the SPJ. Let's just talk. This is the last slide. Weaponized information is a topic that I've been very interested in lately because of this. Because what I've been seeing, in my opinion, is these journalists using their position of influence, using their connections with legacy media, and using the relative ignorance of their bosses at these legacy publications, using their ignorance of social media, their lack of social media social media literacy to push misinformation disguised as the truth, disguised as reporting into the ether. So, weaponized information. The best definition I could find. A message or content piece that is designed to affect the recipient's perception about something or someone in a way that is not warranted. Something that is untrue, unnecessary. The term implies a target and the intention to cause harm. And the goal of weaponized information is bringing about a change in beliefs and attitudes, and as a result, promote behavior that serves the attacker's purpose. And bringing about a change in beliefs happens because if people trust you, they listen to you. So when you position yourself as a person who can be trusted, as a journalist who chases the objective truth, they are more likely to believe what you're saying and maybe change their beliefs and attitudes towards this person with whom you have a personal beef. Okay, friends, are you ready for your quiz? I hope you've been paying attention. Let me pull up. I'm going to pull this up so you can look at it. It is an open book test, okay? It is an open book test. Boo! All right. First, we talked about both of these, so it should not be hard for you. What was the first one? Hang on, let me make sure I'm giving you guys the right quiz here. Okay. Which pillar of journalism, I'll start with the easiest one. Which pillar of journalism does this tweet from Taylor Lorenz, journalist, break? Which pillar of journalism does this one break? I'll give you the 4. Is number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4? All of them is a possible answer. Pillar 1, cognitive dissonance. Number 1, seek truth and report it. Wait, you mean questioning if Ethan's a pedophile isn't seeking the truth and reporting it? The answer is C, act independently. There's an argument made for a lot of these. Minimize harm. Also good. All of the above I'll take, but in general, the clearest one is definitely seek truth and report it. Yes, minimize harm definitely goes to seek truth and report it in this case. The Clean Water Act of 1972. Okay, next one. In this tweet, what rule is Taylor Lorenz, or what pillar of journalistic ethics is Taylor Lorenz breaking or violating? This is her tweeting out a private citizen's LinkedIn to her audience as a journalist. Number 1, seek truth and report it. 2, minimize harm. 3, act independently. Or 4, be accountable and transparent. That is pretty clear case for 2. 2, absolutely. Good job, everybody. Y'all are so smart. Y'all are so smart. Well, you guys just learned more about journalism than I think Taylor did, because she did not go to school for journalism. Not that that matters. Oh, can you read the tweet? Yeah. Hang on one sec. The fact that a bigot like Jillian Karen, so she didn't just share it, she also, shit on this woman, openly called for a disabled journalist to be killed while doing healthcare comms for a company like Omnicom Health is so disturbing. I hope disabled people can communicate the danger people like her pose. I hope disabled people can communicate the danger. What does that mean? Like, disabled people should respond to this? I don't fully understand that. We're definitely getting that pizza party for rocking the quiz. Yes, right after the Ill Pit segment, you will get a pizza party. For sure. Okay, good job, everyone. I'm so proud of you. Nice job. Okay, so hopefully that is a nice background for watching Taylor's video. A little teeny bit of context that I found interesting is that when Taylor's video went live, it was one of 3 videos about Ethan's copyright lawsuits that dropped within the same 24 hours. They all dropped within the same 24 hours. Again, could be a total coincidence. Could be a total coincidence, right? We have Chris Kunzler dropped one on July 10th at 4 p.m. These are all Eastern times. We then have Taylor dropping hers 2 hours later. How copyright lawsuits kill free speech. That's the one we're going to take some clips from tonight. And then Bad Empanada dropped his. Oh, no, wait. That's a Bad Empanada. Okay, hang on one second. Taylor's dropped the next morning at 7 a.m. Bad Empanada's dropped 2 hours after Chris's at 6 p.m. So there's Bad Empanada's content poop Ethan Klein. Part of me was going to watch the 3 of these, but I really just did not want to. I really didn't want to. I don't want to watch Bad Empanada's content ever. And Chris Kunzler's like a student. I don't know. I don't want to give him more platform than he has earned. So yeah. And the one other interesting thing about these 3 videos is 2 of them use the same term, saying that Ethan has a psychosexual obsession with Hasan. I saw them clipped on Twitter. Both Bad Empanada and Chris Kunzler referred to Ethan as having a psychosexual obsession with Hasan in the video that they dropped 3 days ago. And 1 month ago, here is Taylor Lorenz's tweet. My views on war in the Middle East have not changed since the early aughts, by the way. And I think Ethan's weird psychosexual obsession with Hasan is weird as hell. So they apparently dropped the whole thing. Well, if you want to criticize Bad Empanada, go watch his video. I'm focusing on Taylor's video because it was the most succinct, and I think she has the most credentials as a journalist. I don't consider Bad Empanada a journalist. But you are more than welcome to go watch like the 2-hour stream of him. I am not going to do that to myself. I do not feel like imbibing any of his content. Okay? So, for Taylor's video, I guess we can just get right into it. So she put out a video about the dangers of copyright lawsuits. And I have a bunch of timestamps here that we will get into once the ads run. I tried to watch BE's video. It was painful. I had to turn it off. Yeah, I don't consider him to be legitimate in any way. I don't think that criticizing his content is going to be useful. So I'm not interested in doing that. Let me just open the rest of these, guys. If you guys want to grab a drink or whatever while I open these, you're welcome to. I should play some like a little music or something. I think I do have music. What do I have? Oh, I have my AFK, but I don't want to do that. Why isn't it a sign for people that Taylor quit from all reputable outlets she works at, that she's not trustworthy to be reporting on news? I mean, I will not assume things, right? I don't want to assume that that's why she quit or whatever. Oh, that's already open. But yeah. I don't think it's a great sign. I don't think it's like the best sign for sure. Okay. Oh, I'm glad that YouTube just like mutes everything once you... That's 401. Now we need this one. I did not think that I was going to watch this whole video, but man, there are just so many self-owns in this that I just had to. Like because her guest was so intelligent, I thought like, okay, well maybe there's valid points here, right? And we can talk about that. No. I mean, she makes valid points, but they are like directly at odds with what Taylor was clearly trying to do in this interview. Premium fund, thank you. Thank you so much. I know, I need to do that. I will do it. I will do it. Oh no, we don't need that open. Okay. I need a Zach to play some like elevator music right now. I promise y'all, it's gonna be worth it. 1, never try to murder a young woman. What? Wait, what? What the hell was that about? I just saw a very random comment. That was weird. 816. Okay, then 947. I hope y'all are having fun in the chat tonight. I'm sorry, I was so busy doing the presentation, I didn't get to read a ton of it. We don't mind a little dead air here because we're about to go into another pretty meaty section here. I'm having all kinds of fun. Yay! It reminds me of all the podcast bro gurus who start a Substack and act like they're doing real journalism. Can we talk about Substacks for a second? Do any of y'all actually read those? Like, I know a lot of people who have started Substacks, and I'm like, why are you doing that to yourself? It's so much work for like no engagement. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people do still read like long form like that. By the way, we are really funny tonight. Oh, I can't wait to reread it when I'm editing later. I do that. You guys do crack me up. Like the other night when we had like the water slide conversation, oh, I was crying. Literally crying, laughing while I was putting in timestamps. So thank you guys for being so funny and talented. And once I get these up, I am going to have to pee. Because I want to not be uncomfortable the whole time we're talking about this. So I am going to go pee. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I will be right back. Okay? Okay, and that's how you don't chair react to someone. You take a break. You take a break. All right, so let's just jump in. Let's jump into these timestamps. This is Taylor Lorenz's video about how copyright kills free speech. And let's make sure your sound is working before we even start. Great. Okay. Hope y'all took a pee-pee break. The second half of class is about to get started. Now remember what we just learned and see if there are ways that Taylor is engaging in unethical journalism in this video. Don't worry, I'm here to help. All right, let me pull chat back up because we're not full screen here. There we go. Okay. Action.
A troubling shift is unfolding.
She's saying a troubling shift is unfolding in copyright lawsuits. And guess who it's about? It's about Ethan.
Through rigid restrictions on online speech. But now a troubling shift is unfolding. A prominent YouTuber has begun using copyright lawsuits to silence other creators' speech and comment.
A prominent YouTube influencer. She does not say Ethan's name in the entire video. Is this plausible deniability? So if someone says that she's talking about Ethan, she can say, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say who it was, which is like so mean, girl. So yeah, we already have that. We already have her not referring to Ethan by name.
Commentary on his content. I think this moment marks a potential turning point in online expression. These legal attacks that were once used almost exclusively by powerful media companies are now being leveraged by big content creators to attack smaller content creators that they don't like.
All right, let me just rewind and show you this. So throughout this video, Taylor's screenshots are problematic because they don't always relate to the topic at hand. Again, it's more of like her shoehorning stuff in. So I looked into it. And so this article about BVT was put out by Q News out of Australia. And the article itself doesn't really show any proof that the artist's content was actually flagged for copyright. It's implied, but there's no proof shown by the actual artist that it was done. It's more of a discussion about shadow banning, as is highlighted here. That the author is, or the artist took to her Instagram account or their Instagram account and was talking about the fact that they believe their YouTube content is being shadow banned by this copyright strike. And I gathered from, it was a very, very short article that there wasn't a ton of information in it, which check your sources, Taylor. So there wasn't a lot in the article. It was hard to see what was going on. The journalist didn't even show the Instagram stories that the article was about. They just quoted them. But how are we supposed to know that that was what any of it said? And they also talk about it being a coordinated attack on this creator for being queer. But that's just a theory that the artist and her fans have. It's completely unclear why they feel that way. And as far as like it getting flagged for copyright, they mention that some of the content in the video is similar to like another music video, but that's not really discussed at all. It's just very, very, it's barely an article. It's really not an article at all. And it even says in the article, this was like the one piece that was objective, is that YouTube's system for managing copyright is largely automated. So the artist and their fans are making an assumption when in all likelihood, this was an automated copyright strike. But again, we don't know because the artist's information on the back end of their YouTube was not shared. So what I've gathered from this video is that there are instances when big corporations, conglomerates like music corporations or like Disney, when they are using copyright to stop people from criticizing them. But it's not at all what Ethan is doing. But we'll keep going. So during this video, we meet Meredith Rose, who is so smart. I recommend watching Taylor's full video just to hear Meredith chat, because she is a very smart woman who works in policy. She works in copyright policy. She has a JD from the University of Chicago, I believe. Maybe we can rewind it so we can see like her little, oh, I think it's not on here. Okay. So here's Meredith talking about the DMCA, and how copyright is being manipulated to get things removed from the internet that people don't like, but also don't have a claim to. Okay? Which is, again, not Ethan's situation.
Really happened with the DMCA is, though it was designed to allow rights holders to, police the use of their copyrighted content online.
Which is literally what Ethan is doing, right? Policing the use of his own copyrighted content online. He has the right to do that.
What it has ended up being in practice is a way for people to get things that are unflattering or that they don't like removed from the internet. So it's a
okay. Now let's talk about this one. This is the second time that Taylor used a screenshot of an article about Luigi Mangione merch being removed from the internet. Okay? It's also the second source that's completely unrelated to Ethan's use of the DMCA, right? Neither one have anything to do with YouTube. This one BVT did, but this one is completely unrelated. So this is one that's completely unrelated, and here's why it's unrelated. There is no world, this is from the actual article, there is no world in which the copyright of a watercolor painting of Luigi Mangione's surveillance footage is owned by United Health Group, as it quite literally has nothing to do with anything that the company owns. And you can see in the video,
to get things that are unflattering or that they...
She puts this right in the video. She puts this paragraph right in the video. So United Healthcare is trying to use DMCA to get content with Luigi Mangione's face on it removed from TeePublic. That's the context here. And she's trying to use that instance of a company that does not own the copyright claim to something, intimidating small creators to get things removed that make them look bad. She's using that and equating it to what's happening with Ethan, which is him deciding to sue people for stealing his content. It is completely unrelated. Completely unrelated. He uses the content. He is allowed to do with it what he will. Unlike United Health Group, who do not own the surveillance footage. They do not own the likeness of Luigi. And so their attempts to do a DMCA or a copyright strike, that is completely out of left field and has no grounds. That's terrible. That is something that shouldn't be happening. And that is something that this should be focusing on. But instead, she's trying to make it look like Ethan is doing something illegal by filing a DMCA. But again, she's highlighting the exact reason why it's not illegal. Like the cell phone is pretty insane. It is illegal to file a DMCA unless you have a good faith belief that you are the rights holder of the material in question. So Ethan is within his rights, within the law, to sue Denims, Casey Tron, and Frogan for copyright infringement. Because he doesn't have a good faith belief. He is the owner of this stuff. Right? All right, let's see if there's anything else in this little bit before I go to the next one.
They don't like removed from the internet. So it's a very, very powerful tool, and it's just very widely abused.
Was there concern about abuse when it was enacted? And have there been any major legal challenges trying to kind of deal with this issue?
So I don't.
This is very interesting. Okay, so I said here, it already feels like this is a very, very valid topic to cover, but that Taylor is trying to shoehorn Ethan into this idea of big corporations who are silencing smaller creators, specifically who are criticizing them. And all of the headlines that she's showing are related to corporations or people trying to use DMCA who do not have ownership of the content they're trying to get removed. It is not the same thing. It is all false equivalences throughout this entire thing.
Don't know that anybody expected the degree and the pervasiveness of abuse that's actually happened. Also because, the law was passed in 1998, and I think folks were still didn't really appreciate.
Okay. I think that was it for that piece. Again, we're talking about scientists and inventors. We're not it's just crazy. So it's pretty clear to me that Taylor went into this interview, again, not with journalistic curiosity, which to me I think is like such a critical piece of any writer's life is the curiosity, right? But there was a clear agenda, and it turns out that that agenda is in complete opposition to the spirit of journalism and also to what is happening in the world of copyright infringement. Because and we see that agenda in the fact that she's had Meredith Rose on, but Meredith doesn't know anything, doesn't follow YouTube closely enough to know anything about those DMCAs happening on YouTube.
It seems like content creators themselves sort of enact copyright claims on each other. Have we seen anything like this before?
Not that I am aware of, but with the caveat that I don't really follow YouTuber communities very
I don't follow YouTuber communities very closely.
Not that I am aware of, but with the caveat that I don't really follow YouTuber communities very closely. We have.
What's it like to have a life, Meredith? So Taylor came in with an agenda.
Obviously instances of, the sort of.
Sorry, that played for my headphones. So Taylor came in with an agenda of questions, and it means she isn't getting questions answered the way she likes, right? So she's hitting these dead ends with Meredith because the questions are they're like leading questions, and Meredith is not familiar with her narrative or what she's looking for. And so there are a couple of times where Meredith is just like, I don't know. I don't follow that at all, right? Meredith, what a dork, not being chronically online. Yeah. I couldn't even find like an Instagram account. I wanted to follow Meredith. She's so smart. She is so smart. And Meredith works for the nonprofit, I think it's called Public Knowledge, I believe. Public Knowledge nonprofit. Y'all should check it out. There's Meredith. She's a senior policy counsel for Public Knowledge, fighting for creative and connective future for all. So shout out to Meredith. This was a great get by Taylor that she, in my opinion, totally squandered.
Communities very closely. We have seen obviously instances of, the sort of joke is that the DMCA is a keep my name out of your mouth cause of action.
Okay, so this is interesting. They're going to talk about the Omegaverse, which I don't know much about. But they'll kind of explain it, and we can talk about that. Again, it is definitely not what Ethan is doing. Like at all. At all. So here it is.
Of her reading from trope.
Okay.
Lindsay claimed that really she had the rights to this Omegaverse trope. Lindsay Ellis came in and included clips of her reading from the book, but she makes very substantially long YouTube videos, and these were a small part of it, and mostly she was just poking at the concept that anybody was fighting about this. And then
okay, so Lindsay got a DMCA strike. Shout out Barbara Streisand. Lindsay got a DMCA strike saying that she was infringing on copyright, but it wasn't valid because she was doing transformative content. That the actual bits and pieces she was taking, referencing this other issue, were so small compared to the length of her very long videos, like almost an hour, over an hour. Fair use, right? What Ethan got removed, according to Meredith, who will say it multiple times, if we're basing it on Meredith's standards, and she is like a huge source for this, what Ethan got removed is not, it is within his right to do it. What they were doing was not fair use. It was direct uploads, direct streams of his content without any transformative commentary or criticism. And then they put it up on their platforms. So it was live and then it was uploaded. I believe all of them did it. Maybe I'm wrong. So there's that. Okay, so let's talk about fair use more. This is where it goes into fair use and people losing copyright claims specifically for being a jerk about copyright. And that it comes down to the judge's opinion, right?
in practice, a lot of this comes down to whether a judge does a sniff test on it and thinks, I think this seems valid, or I don't think this seems valid. And a lot of cases, it's, do I think this party's a jerk, or do I think this other party's the jerk? And so you've had some personalities losing copyright cases, sort of.
Oh, personalities like Matt Haas? Personalities like literally Matt Haas losing to Ethan and Ela because what they were doing was transformative and he was being a dick about it? There are several times where Meredith will bring up different cases, and I gotta wonder if she mentioned the Matt Haas case, since that is like a huge piece of YouTube case law, specifically in her area of expertise of copyright. I wonder if she brought it up. I can't imagine she didn't do some research, because unlike Taylor, she's like a real professional about these things. You know? Because she does reference later, she references the copyright lawsuits that Ethan has filed. So she knows about those. So it's hard for me to believe she wouldn't bring up the Ethan and Ela case as an example of fair use, right? It seems like, I mean, if I were Taylor, I would have cut it out. I don't know if it was brought up, though. That's just speculation.
Based on the force of, the gut feeling that we may not be able to articulate it, but we really don't like what they did here.
Yeah, I saw somebody posting yesterday, some YouTuber fan, that was like, reminder, judges are people. Like, these are human beings.
Okay, that's nothing. Okay, so next up, Meredith talks about the 4-factor test of fair use and the importance of following precedent and the role that precedent plays in fair use. And we know that Ethan and Ela have actually set the precedent for fair use on YouTube. So again, I don't think this is panning out the way Taylor thought it would.
And the actual test for things like fair use are wobbly. It's a 4-factor test. The only way to be sure, though, that something is a fair use is if you're following more or less exactly the pattern that has happened in a case that has happened before.
Precedent of settled case law. about something that has happened before. And if the closer you follow it, the more likely you'll be able to see how this problem or how this case will end. And this is like literally the same thing as the Matt Haas case, right? Except in this case, the defendants weren't doing anything transformative. That would be cool, Manola, for Ethan and Meredith to have the convo, but I would like him to leave like Hasan and Taylor and everybody out of it. I think that he shouldn't talk about them at all. Because I think that just gets like wades into the pettiness that, I mean, Taylor's trying to avoid it here, but we all know what this was, right? Like we know what this was. And so, yeah, basically Meredith is saying here without, saying it within context, if you as a streamer didn't do what Ethan and Hila did to their video on Matt Haas, you're probably fucked. Because precedent is not on your side. It is not on your side. All right, next up. We have more of Taylor's agenda-based questions getting shut down. This one is specifically about anti-slap, which I've seen a lot of the leftists talking about as a reasonable argument against Ethan, and that they're going to use that to get these cases thrown out, these lawsuits thrown out.
This time.
Have you ever seen a successful sort of anti-slap claim in terms of copyright law?
I have.
First, anti-slap is, just so y'all know, it's slap is a legal term for using the legal system basically to intimidate people out of criticizing you. I think it was, did they use it? Did Matt Haas try to slap them? I don't remember. But basically anti-slap means that the defendants could fight back saying, this is just them trying to intimidate me. What I was doing is fair use. And they're just using the legal system and their power and their money to intimidate me out of talking about them. Okay? So that's what slap, an anti-slap is, and that's what she's talking about here.
Time.
Have you ever seen a successful sort of anti-slap claim in terms of copyright law?
I have not, actually. Again, they tend to come up more in defamation, but I have not seen anti-slap used in the copyright context.
Yeah. So the expert, one of the biggest experts in copyright law, has never seen anti-slap used in a copyright case because it is mostly used in defamation. And she's not even saying that it hasn't been used successfully. She's saying it hasn't been used at all. She is not familiar with cases of copyright infringement being used, or anti-slap being used to combat copyright infringement lawsuits. And here's why.
The copyright cases that tend to get litigated for longer and tend to, sort of make their way up to circuit courts tend to be more sympathetic cases, frankly. And so there's a lot more of a trail on that. So there was a famous case, Google v. Garcia, which had to do with a woman who looking.
This is less important.
YouTube, and
this is basically about a woman who did an audition for something, and then her voice and her image were used in ways that she didn't agree with. But this second part here is the part that Taylor's probably not going to like.
It was that she was saying, so they attempted to use the performance, and I didn't to happen. And, we ended up, I believe it was at the Ninth Circuit where they finally said, this sucks, but this is not the cause of action you need to use to deal with this. So we tend to see it more in situations like that, but I am not aware of a situation where copyright and anti-slap have really collided. And that's partly because it's a federal case, so it always goes through federal courts, and anti-slap are state level. There's actually...
So... the two are actually right now kind of incompatible because all copyright suits are federal and go through the federal chain of lawsuits. Anti-slap is state to state. Every state has their own rules, their own criteria for slap. So you don't see them together because they don't really mix. We do not have federal anti-slap statutes.
Actually, an open question about whether or not state anti-slap can apply in federal court. I think
it's an open question that it can't, if it's even valid to be used. So the argument that the defense that these streamers are building, if it's involving slap, they are supremely fucked. They're fucked.
The answer is different in different circuit courts, so it depends on where you live. It's a whole complicated morass. Lawyers keep themselves employed.
Another reason we need federal anti-slap. How would a content
just to bite Ethan Klein in the ass? Another reason we need anti-slap, so it can be used in copyright infringement cases. Because in Taylor's mind, there is a huge problem of big companies and content creators harassing smaller creators with content strikes, copyright strikes, which does not, according to this interview, doesn't seem to be panning out. Okay, next up, we have Hasan's first but not only cameo in this video. Here we go. I just thought this was funny.
Or commentary are considered to be...
Imagine being able to build...
God damn it. No free ads. Let me read the comments while I'm looking at this. One of Ethan's Cav lawsuits was anti-slapped. Yes. This is just Taylor hoping Meredith says something that would help the people on her team. Exactly. And that's why she's asking these leading questions and she's not getting what she wants, right? She's like, have you seen slap used successfully against copyright infringement? She's like, no, because they're not the fucking same. They're not in the same ballpark, girly. And no, I don't know. I haven't seen things about YouTube because I don't follow YouTube. Alexandra, I hope you're okay. Okay, we're back. We back.
That are criticism or comment to settle it in the courts. As a general rule, though, things that are criticism or commentary are considered to be more strong fair use cases than others. And the more criticism and the more commentary that you inject, usually the safer you are.
The more criticism and the more commentary you can inject, the better. Did I miss his little cameo? No, it must be coming up. Oh, maybe I missed it. I did have his little cameo in here. Is this the one? Oh, this isn't the one. It's this one. Okay. So that was, all right. So that is, we can replay that. Because that is important. This is her directly disagreeing with the way Frogan and Casey Tron and Denham's conducted themselves while showing Ethan's content.
To settle it in the courts. As a general rule, though, things that are criticism or commentary are considered to be more strong fair use cases than others. And the more criticism and the more commentary that you inject, usually the safer you are.
So people who are not safe, chair reactors, people who just let the video play for minutes on end while they leave the room.
Things like parody, which unfortunately has a very specific...
Parody we don't care about because that's not related. Okay, next up we have the Hasan cameo at 19 minutes in. The first, but not the only.
I think it's so interesting too, just like the norms that have been set, especially as live streaming has taken off and more.
Oh, there he is. If we're talking about live streaming, you got to show Hasan.
More people, I mean, IRL streams, but these reacting streams on Twitch are increasingly popular. And
I mean, you can literally see Hasan paying no attention and just watching Meet the Press, copyrighted content. He's not even looking at the screen.
YouTube, where people sort of just react to other people's content or commentate on it. And I guess I'm wondering, like, have you seen copyright law affect these fan communities and this like remix and reaction culture?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Copyright law and especially fan communities and
it's not going to be in the way you think, girly.
we call it transformative fandom now. There's a long history there. And so one of the biggest organizations working on this is the Organization for Transformative Works, and they run Archive of Our Own, which is a huge fan fiction archive. And
all right, so she talks about Archive of Our Own and the idea of transformative fandom, which, again, There is nothing transformative about what the 3 defendants were doing, right? Nothing at all. All right, then she gets into skibbity toilet, which is the interesting part here. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right, here we go.
Works with the creator and owns all the IP for Skibbity.
All right, so here's Taylor talking about
talking about Pokemon.
Try to rely on these soft norms to change their behavior rather than what the law actually says.
Talking about Pokemon and Disney and some of these other companies, I think it's so interesting. I've done a bunch of reporting on Skibbity Toilet. I don't know if you're familiar.
My 8-year-old has educated me about Skibbity
Taylor doing 8-year-old reporting.
Toilet.
I interviewed the guy who works with the creator and owns all the IP for Skibbity Toilet, and they monetize Skibbity Toilet and sell the merch, develop these games and all these things. And he said actually that they don't really pursue copyright claims. They get really excited when they've always actually really encouraged people to make their own versions of Skibbity Toilet, because it's sort of the way the internet works. Like, the more people are talking about something online, the bigger the brand becomes. And I actually
Using skibbity toilet as your reasoning here is crazy. First of all, it is a complete false equivalence to Ethan's situation, right? People who are remaking whatever this is, this skibbity toilet thing, are fans, not detractors. And from the look of it, they're doing transformative things. And to act like Denims and Frogan and Caseytron were doing Ethan a favor by increasing his brand visibility with their reactions is so weak, Taylor. It's so weak. It wasn't a parody. It wasn't an homage. It wasn't criticism. It wasn't commentary. It was literally, implicitly used as a market substitute to take views and revenue from him. They literally said it themselves, right?
Or talking about something online, the bigger the brand becomes. And I actually do know.
Yeah. Caseytron and Denims and Frogan are helping H3 grow his brand.
One creator who did make Skibbity Toilet porn. I don't know if it's quite on their radar yet, so I don't know if that's been litigated, but I think overwhelmingly he was saying it's quite on there. I actually do know one creator who did make Skibbity Toilet porn. I don't know if it's quite on their radar yet, so I don't.
So she knows of a creator who made PORN out of Skibbity Toilet. Why does she know that person? What the fuck?
I don't know if that's been litigated, but I think overwhelmingly he was saying it was actually kids that were fans of Skibbity Toilet and wanted to make their own stuff. So
Taylor Lorenz knows someone, purportedly an adult, who made porn from Skibbity Toilet, something only children watch. What adults would be interested in that porn? Who did he make that for? That feels like some Neverland Ranch shit, right? Like, you're making something for a specific audience.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, these different perceptions. I would say Skibbity Toilet, I mean, it's being made into a Michael Bay movie now. It's about to be,
Stupid.
It's sort of this modern.
So much of it is really just dependent on the creator
And trying
Okay,
to
here we go.
context in which they kind of came in. Really just depend.
control Disney way of cracking down and trying to control things.
Yeah, and so much of it is really just dependent on the creators and the context in which they kind of came into creating.
Context.
So it's very interesting to watch. I deal a lot with the music industry, which has very specific.
All right, this one, hang on, let's see. There was another thing. This is all about the music industry, so it's not that important. Then it gets kind of nerdy for a second about Spock. Oh, Lord. All right, let's go to the next timestamp here. All right, that's Skibbity Toilet. And then this one is, okay, here we go. Okay. Has Been Hotel. My friend is on that show. My friend is on that show. Has Been Hotel creator Vivian Madrano has a strict no reading fan fiction rule for the series writers. Interesting. I think that makes sense because I don't think you want the people involved actually reading your stuff. Maybe you think you do, but I don't think you really do. All right. So anyway, that is not the point of this. This is talking a little bit more about the transformative nature of content and how it needs to be transformative to not break copyright law.
As a legal exposure for them. And so, yeah, it's this like very complicated relationship. Star Wars has been trying to navigate this for like 40 years at this point, and they're still kind of working on it.
I'm thinking too of these reaction channels where I feel like traditionally people have wanted other creators to react to their content because it sort of elevates the original content. I had a video recently.
Hasan cameo number 2.
To react to their content.
And again, she's saying, wait, why doesn't Ethan just want the content played everywhere to give him more visibility?
Because it sort of elevates the original content. I had a video recently that some big content creators like essentially just watched on their stream, but it made people interested in my channel. And
so here is Taylor literally admitting that the Hasan model of content reaction does not include any kind of transformative commentary. She literally just said that. It was basically him just watching it. And here he is just not fucking paying attention as usual.
Elevates the original content. I had a video recently that some big content creators like essentially just watched on their stream, but it made people interested in my channel and actually really boosted the views. And so I feel like there's this culture of like creators being like, please react to my work. Like, please let me know what you think, please.
Yeah, that's called it's called implied license. And it is something that you can give or not give. Just because you want creators to watch your stuff, you're welcome, by the way, doesn't mean everybody does. Just because you want Hasan to sit there and say nothing and add nothing to your content because you want the boost from his sycophants does not mean that other people do. And it is their right as the owner of that content to have a problem with it. You can choose to give implied license or not. And from here, Taylor goes directly into completely misrepresenting Ethan's point.
Please talk about it on your stream or whatever, just to sort of like get the word out there. In this,
Ethan does not need help getting the word out. And he is within his right to sue people who steal his content. Nothing in this video has shown that he is not within his right to do exactly what he's doing and that he will probably win. Just because you think it's icky because it's happening to your friends. Meanwhile, you're mad that your shit got uploaded on some AI channel. A direct upload, the way that Casey Tron and Frogren and Denims were watching Ethan's content. But when it happens to your friends, it should be illegal. And Ethan should be shamed for it. Okay. So now she shows The Economist and this article about Ethan. The only time we see Ethan's name is in this article. I mean, this is the only real direct reaction. And what's interesting about The Economist is there are no authors on any of their articles. And this is the only direct source that Taylor shows. The direct source about Ethan Klein is an article with conveniently no author. Because I looked. So we don't know who wrote it. But I wonder if Taylor does.
This case with this big YouTuber suing
This big YouTuber, still no name, plausible deniability.
the smaller YouTubers, he actually has encouraged people to react to his work, but now he's saying, hey, you stole my views. You stole my views and you stole my money because you sort of didn't, like we're talking about, it wasn't transformative enough.
Just completely misrepresenting his point altogether. Doesn't talk about the intentional malice of creating a market substitute, which all three women blatantly said out loud multiple times. Doesn't talk about the fact that this isn't him going back on his word about wanting and allowing people to create content from his content. There are so many H3 clip channels out there. I follow several of them, right? This is not something that Ethan is doing. He is not taking down parody or homage or clip compilations created by people. He is fighting back against three streamers maliciously creating a market substitute in order to not give him views. And I have to wonder, she keeps leaving Ethan's name out of it. And I was wondering when I was watching this, is this because Meredith would recognize his name from the fair use case law and have a different perspective on things? But it turns out Meredith already sides with him because the law is on his side. And we'll see a little bit more of that.
Views. You stole my views and you stole my money because you sort of didn't, like we're talking about, it wasn't transformative enough. And I'm wondering what effects that might have on like commentary culture just generally, because I feel like how can you know how much commentary you're going to have on a piece of content until you react to it? I mean,
you fucking watch it first. That's how you know. That's how I knew how much content I was going to have tonight. I watched your video and I took notes so I could properly comment on it. Pre-watching is like an established best practice to avoid getting dinged for copyright infringement, because you have time to prepare what you're going to say. Like, fair use lawyers have that as a best practice. They say that's what you should be doing. You should be pre-watching other people's shit before you create your own content about it. Otherwise, you're just watching it. What are you adding? What are you adding? How can you know how much reaction you're going to have until you see it? Literally, that's why you watch it twice, and Meredith agrees.
maybe you'd have to sort of pre-react ahead of time and sort of plan out commentary, make sure you have enough to say. It
Yeah, literally exactly that. What is the problem?
seems kind of sticky.
Yeah.
It's not sticky. It's not sticky. Watch the video first. And then go live and have a more intelligent conversation.
And it's definitely doubly sticky when the reaction is being done as a live stream and you may not know in advance.
This is the only time you see his name. The only time you see his name. Give me 1 second. I just want to see if Taylor and Paolo know each other. I feel like I've seen that name before. Shout out to the Reddit. Okay, let me see. Oh, you guys talking about Adam? Oh, following. Wow, she's following a lot of people on Twitter. Oh, I can't look it up. Okay, never mind. So I don't know if she knows him, but there has been a pattern of all the journalists that know each other and live, you know, in Hasan's ass crack, citing each other and no one else. All right, so let's go back to what Meredith is saying, because she's very, very smart.
Doubly sticky when the reaction is being done as a live stream and you may not know in advance exactly. Or, as apparently one of the streamers had to get up and take a bathroom break and apparently exactly. Or, as apparently one of the streamers had to get up and take a bathroom break and apparently that was offensive because she left the stream running while the chair was empty. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, right? There may not be a lot of there. I always sort of use the example of on one end of reaction videos, you have.
All right, so here's the spectrum according to this very smart attorney who is, senior counsel for an organization fighting for free speech. Here is her spectrum of content. You tell me which end of the spectrum Frogan, Casey, Tron, and Denham's end on.
And I confess, I really enjoy these as
Meredith. Stream is different than Ethan's video. Okay, one sec. All right, let me see.
definitely doubly sticky when the reaction is being done as a live stream and you may not know in advance exactly. Or, as apparently one of the streamers had to get up and take a bathroom break.
Ah, I see. Yeah. So she's not aware that there was time to watch Ethan's video first. Unlike when Ethan did it on his live stream to the Content Cop and actually did a pretty good job stopping and making a lot of commentary. But yes, all of them had time to view the video before reacting live to it. They just chose not to.
And apparently that was offensive because she left the stream running while the chair was empty. Example of on one end of reaction videos you have, and I confess, I really enjoy these as an aging millennial, younger Gen Z reacting to whatever pop hits were, popular when I was in high school, where it's just, a guy in the corner kind of bopping along to what.
So that's one side. One side is adding little to no commentary, right? Just bopping along.
Whatever. I still enjoy those. And on the other end, you have Dustin Pointer, who's the red flag, green flag guy, who will take videos of people and their relationship dynamics and race across the field with a giant red or green flag and sort of dunk on people as necessary. It's hard to predict exactly how folks are going to react to this.
So on one end, you have people sitting there just watching something. The other end, you have someone taking content and adding humor and other video and, surprising elements, right? Reacting, commenting on it, critiquing the people in the video. Which end are Denham's and Casey, Tron, and Frogan on? The first or the second? Ethan is a humble legend who even apologized during the debate. That's true. Okay.
But I think the sort of takeaways from it from a lawyer perspective is more commentary is better. Maybe
more commentary is better. You're wrong, Taylor.
Maybe pre-record it. Maybe live reacting, isn't it? And also
maybe live reacting to it, isn't it?
So, something maybe to avoid is saying things like, watch my reaction video as the ethical way to not give ad revenue to the original, which does actually start running into copyright law rationale around fair use.
They literally shouldn't do exactly what Denham's and Casey, Tron, and Frogan did. According to Meredith, Rose, JD, senior counsel at Public Knowledge? I'm shocked that Taylor left this in. Here we go. Yeah. Based. 100% based, Meredith. Weredith woes. Yeah, exactly, Alex. I am shocked she didn't cut it out. Let's watch it again.
Record it, maybe live reacting, isn't it? And also, something maybe to avoid is saying things like, watch my reaction video as the ethical way to not give ad revenue to the original, which does actually start running into copyright law rationale around fair use. When you've accidentally touched directly on the fourth factor of fair use, maybe you want to avoid doing that.
Maybe you want to avoid doing that because you are actively violating one of the 4 pillars of fair use. directly references the ethical point made by the streamers who say that you can ethically watch the video with me. Here's my my ethical market substitute, right? Directly references that. So clearly she is familiar with the lawsuit, or maybe she's just read some articles. And she doesn't agree. She doesn't agree with Taylor and the streamers that they have a case. Because their theory is it's baseless intimidation, right? It's slap. Meredith says, no, it's directly touching one of 4 principles of fair use. Wait, does Meredith know about Ethan's lawsuit against the girls? It does seem like it. In this clip, it does seem like it. Right? Because she directly references what they did.
Live reacting, isn't it? And also, you know, something maybe to avoid is saying things like, watch my reaction video as the ethical way to not give ad revenue to the original, which does actually start running into copyright law rationale around fair use. You know, when you've accidentally touched directly on the 4th factor of fair use, you know, maybe you want to avoid doing that.
I mean,
so literally, ow. So she literally brought up the main point that Ethan is using. And I genuinely cannot believe that Taylor left this in. I mean, maybe that is a credit to her journalism, her journalistic integrity, to leave in that huge fucking L. Because you literally just showed probably one of like the leading experts on copyright who you brought on in an appeal to authority. You literally just showed her saying your friends fucked up. And that Ethan most absolutely has a case directly tied to one of the 4 principles of fair use. That it isn't baseless intimidation, that they did something wrong, and that Ethan is within his rights to sue these people, no matter how weird or icky you think it is. What a fucking airball this was. So how is this happening? How is this weaponization of journalism, this weaponization of information happening? Why is this happening? Why is it allowed to happen? Specifically in traditional media spaces like the Rolling Stone, New York Times, Washington Post. It's because these creators, these leftist journalists are exploiting a lack of social media literacy that is present in legacy media spaces, in legacy media editors. We are in a moment of time when younger people who are younger in their careers, know more about the stuff they're reporting on than the higher ups. You know, we're in flux. Society is changing so much because of the internet, because of social media, and Gen X, boomers, do not understand social media the way millennials, Gen Z, Gen A do and will. When I am much older, Gen A is going to know a ton of shit I don't know. And if I'm employing them, I kind of have to trust that they know what the fuck they're talking about. Because I will be in over my head. And even now, like the bulk of my career, I've been writing for marketing and social media, and I have literally never had a boss who understood social media platforms better than I did. They didn't get the nuances, the inside jokes, the way things work, the way people interact. There has almost always been a huge knowledge gap between me and my superior when it came to social media. So these higher ups, the people that are actually vetting things, are out of the loop. They don't understand what's going on. And like I said, they kind of just rely on this is all my opinion, of course. They kind of just rely on the writers to know what they're talking about, because they don't even know when they're looking at something what looks like it might be incorrect. Like they're that far out of the loop that they don't even know what to look for when they're editing. Besides, grammar and punctuation. They don't know what seems sus about Instagram or doesn't ring true about Reddit. They don't know how to investigate things on those platforms, right? But what they do know is that these topics are hot, right? That these platforms are hot and we need to be on them and we need to be talking about them. We need to have a presence. We need to take up space there. But just like do whatever makes sense. I trust you because you know what you're doing. So we have way too much trust on behalf of these older editors in charge that these journalists are exploiting. And in my opinion, they're also exploiting the trust of readers and followers because they're positioning themselves as experts, as people with journalistic ethics. So people are trusting that they are being told the whole truth. And they are not. There is, for me, way too much faith being put.
How do you work with
one more little clip that was very interesting to me? There's way too much faith being put in these journalists to be honest. And it sucks because they should be trusted. They should be trusted. I don't know where my headphones went. They fell down somewhere. That's fine. We'll just do this. All right. So here is Taylor confirming what I've just said, because I love when that happens. So this is Taylor a year ago being interviewed by a member of SPJ New England. So the New England chapter of the Society for Professional Journalists. Okay? And here is the question she was asked and how she responded.
And so legacy media and sort of a certain older generation, they were kind of slow to come around and take it seriously. How do you work with, maybe editors or others of a certain generation who might not be as social media literate as you? Have you had to change your approach for them?
No, I don't think it's a age issue, actually. I mean, I totally changed my mind on this because my editor who just retired, and I would die for him. He's 72 and he deserved to retire, but he was probably the best editor I've ever had, and, was an amazing editor, just understood stories, understood power structures, understood wanting to challenge power and like wanting to explain the dynamics of the internet. Like he didn't understand those, he wasn't on TikTok that much, but like.
So you said it wasn't an age issue. You said it wasn't an age issue. Meanwhile, the question was literally about the social media literacy of older people and superiors in journalism. And you said your best editor was this guy who didn't understand social media, but he supported your interest in challenging the status quo and going after the establishment and all of that. That is not an answer to this question. You literally just proved that older people are out of touch and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to social media, and they're trusting you. They're trusting you to do it well.
He got it. And so I think that's what you need. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of that in legacy news. Legacy news, it's establishment stuff. And it's a lot about, it's not an environment.
Real eloquent stuff there, Taylor. Let's rewind and just listen to her say that one more time.
How do you work with, maybe editors or others of a certain generation who might not be as social media literate as you? Have you had to change your approach for them?
No, I don't think it's a age issue, actually.
It literally is, and you say that it is.
I mean, I totally changed my mind on this because my editor who just retired, and I would die for him. He's 72 and he deserved to retire, but he was probably the best editor I've ever had. And,
because it sounds like he agreed with your politics, right? He agreed with your politics.
Was an amazing editor, just understood stories, understood power structures, understood wanting to challenge power and like wanting to explain the dynamics of the internet. Like he didn't understand those, he wasn't on TikTok that much, but like he got it.
He got it? What does that mean? If he didn't understand those platforms, which is what you were saying, if he wasn't on TikTok, then he didn't get it. He didn't get it, but he trusted you. I think that's what you mean here when you say he got it. He trusted you to do it right. So in my opinion, as we conclude today's class, first of all, do you see how much better content is when you pre-watch it? And you structure it and you plan it out? You can even do it for a live stream like that. There seems to be a lot of trust put in these writers by these older people, these older editors. There's an assumption that they're experts, right? That they're professionals, that they hold themselves to journalistic integrity standards, to the code of ethics that we talked about. And honestly, they kind of have to have that trust, right? These supervisors and editors, they kind of have to trust that these people know what they're talking about, because it would take way too long. It would take way too long for them to learn everything there is to know, everything that they would need to know to detect misinformation. Right? They have to at some point just trust that these subjects are being covered objectively, because they don't know what the fuck is going on. And these legacy publications are just happy to get the clicks for hosting articles that are about Reddit and TikTok and other topics. But they don't know what it's about. They don't get it, as Taylor said.
You've got mail.
Alex_the_fiction gave $5. If you're going in for a blind reaction and you realize you have nothing valuable to add, you can turn off the video and move on to another.
Exactly. Just move on. But that would be admitting defeat, and they cannot do that to themselves. We hit our goal. Thank you everybody for the super chats. Thank you, friends. So yeah, suffice it to say, I continue to be completely disappointed in leftist media right now. And I wish that wasn't the case, because I wish that these people could be trusted and I could get my information from them, because I too want to challenge structures and start over and, find better ways to do things and hold people in power accountable. But that's not what these people are doing. And their journalism is not ethical. And it makes me mad that they call themselves journalists. And I think, based on their backgrounds, I'm probably the most disappointed in Kat Tenbarge, because she actually has a bachelor's in journalism and was given an award by the Society of Professional Journalists just this year. So to see her trafficking in the misinformation and the shitty sourcing and all of those unethical behaviors. It's like I expect it from Hasan because he's a propagandist. He's said it himself. At this point, sadly, I expect it from Taylor because every time I look into something she said, it's a fucking lie or it's taken out of context or it's just like deliberately manipulative. But Kat, like what? You're sacrificing your integrity. Or you have sacrificed it. All right, well that's my time, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Boss Moss really hung in here, huh? Journalism seems to have taken a nosedive in recent years. Even in New Zealand, they go on Facebook and just use comments. Oh my God. Yes, the bell has rung. You can go on to your next class. I will see you on the quad later for hacky sack. But thank y'all for being here. I'll be back. Well, technically now it's tonight. I'll be back in a few hours to talk about the Monday show of the H3 show, which is my normal twice a week podcast, reaction show. I'm going to be doing that on Mondays and Wednesdays now. I don't remember if I said that at the top of the show. Because I want to react the same day. I don't want to make y'all wait. So we're going to do Mondays and Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on the day of the show. And then sometimes Fridays if I'm around. If I'm not busy on Fridays, I will do that. I'm going to go to sleep. I hope y'all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you at the after party.
See you at the after party.
Bye, everybody.